Hi there, I'm Molly,
And I'm Jamie. We're the owners of Hired Hand Software.
and this is season 6 of our From the Pasture podcast. For more than 15 years, we've been helping breeders promote their pedigree livestock with our easy to use, animal management driven website software.
Each week, we bring you stories from the pasture, breeding philosophies, ranch traditions, cattle knowledge, and conversation with folks using Hired Hand to power their livestock marketing.
So settle in for today's episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today on From the Pasture with Hired Hand, we're visiting with Shawn Sayre of S-A Longhorns in Brookfield, Missouri. Ranching runs deep in Shawn's family. His father Bill and mother Conda founded well-known B&C Longhorn Ranch back in 1978 and even launched the B&C Show Me Longhorn Sale, which still holds the record as the longest-running Longhorn sale in the industry. We'll hear how Shawn has carried on that legacy forward at S-A Longhorns, why family is still at the center of everything they do, and how tools like pasture rotation and modern equipment keep their program running strong. We'll also talk about what Shawn sees as the biggest change in ranching over the years, the traditions he hopes never go away, and of course, what it's like raising longhorns with deep roots in the breed. Stick around because later we'll get into some fun rapid-fire questions from why calving season topped Shawn's list to his dream trip to Yellowstone, and even which Western icon he'd invite to dinner. Well, welcome back to the podcast, Shawn. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you're connected to S-A Longhorns?
Shawn Sayre. My wife and I own S-A Longhorns. We've been together for 15 years. We've raised Longhorns ever since. Of course, I've been in the Longhorn business for 47 years with my family, and we've just kept the business going, and here we are.
Well, for those folks listening who know about B&C Longhorn Ranch and their history, why don't you walk us through how your family's B&C Ranch became such a cornerstone in the industry and kind of led to the S-A Longhorns that you have today?
Dad started the sale back in '79. He started the business due to the Longhorn industry. There was very few breeders in the United States, and he thought it was an up and coming breed that no one had, and he thought it was an interesting breed, so he decided to start raising them and selling them. So that's how the B&C sale started, and then as that grew, and we started raising them, and my wife and I, we decided we would start our own herd, and then we branched off and kept our herd going. Dad sold the farm, and my wife and I bought a place, and we started S&A Longhorns, and we have about 20 mama cows and about 16 babies, and here we are with S&A Longhorns.
For those of us who were fortunate enough to know your dad, we hold on to some pretty great memories of the good old days. I'd love to hear from your perspective what some of your favorite stories or memories or time spent with your dad and your mom and the Longhorns were.
Well, there's not enough time in the day to tell the stories that we've got and what we've done. It's just like when your dad used to come to the sales back in the days, the old timers, you see Joe Moore was there at the sale this time buying a lot of cows when his dad, Ray, was there buying cattle. You see the sons there buying when the fathers used to come, and it's like myself, I'm still there doing it when dad started it, there's very few of the old timers still in it. Now you see their children buying cattle and they're still raising cattle. The stories that, you sit there and you listen to people talk about the old days, it never gets old. I love listening to the stories about, when we started and the old time cattle, like, Classic and Wyoming War Paint and things like that. It's interesting that's why I'm still doing it.
Well, your sale, the Show Me Longhorn sale, is the longest running sale in the breed, if we did our research correct.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I sat through a few of you and your dad's sales with my coloring book way back when.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you remember most about the origins of the sale, and what do you think its impact is today?
The origin is just the way things have changed. Back in the day, a 42-inch cow was a big animal. Teacher's Pet. Mike Cochran owned a cow named Teacher's Pet. She was 46 inches, and that was huge back in the day. And we had $21,000 bid on her, and he PO'd her in the sale ring because he didn't think that was enough money for her. And in today's market, you take a cow that's 115 inches and they bring 60, 70, 80, $100,000. And, it's just the way things have changed, the style, the body, and the tip to tip measurements now. A 42-inch cow is heifers now, and it's just the way the things have changed in tip to tip. And, it's wild.
It is. I remember, I showed all through high school, and then I kind of didn't go to much stuff while I was in college. A few years after college, when I went back to the World Show, I just remember thinking, just in those 4 or 5, 6 years, the progress that the animals had made, not just with their horn length and shape, but also just some of the changes you saw to their body and stuff. It was like seeing a whole new breed almost, because what you knew from growing up and from the past, they didn't look like that anymore, just in that short span. And then you compound that to all the years lately, and it's really been a lot of growth since
It's
what we used
crazy.
to know.
It's amazing. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's unbelievable, really.
Well, talking a little bit more about your roots, your dad started Longhorns back in 1978. What do you recall about those early days? Yeah, and I know we just touched on some of it, but is there anything we haven't talked about?
Well, it was interesting. We had Angus cattle too. We had commercial Angus cattle as well as quarter horses. We did a little bit of everything. And it was funny. My grandpa thought Dad was crazy for buying those horn cattle, and everybody thought Dad was off his rocker back then when he's buying these weird cattle, and people didn't realize that cattle, they don't lose their teeth. They very rarely get sick. You never have to pull calves out of them, and they seen these great big horns, and they thought, wow, they're they're wild, they're crazy. They got these horns, they're mean. Well, they're not. I had a steer that I rode back when I was a kid, and I rode him in parades and things like that. And, it was just, it was neat. It was unique that, hey, let's go out to the Sayres and see their Longhorn cows. And, everybody all the kids in my class wanted to go out to our house and, see what we had out there. Cause we always had something different and something new out there. And it was kind of fun. It was interesting. And it was just fun growing up out on the farm.
Were you ever involved in 4-H or FFA with them, or were there rules
No,
against horn cattle?
no, we showed Angus cattle, but we never showed Longhorns. No.
So how do you think the transition from B&C Longhorns to S&A Longhorns has kind of shaped your own ranching style? Is there anything you and Alyson have done that you think your dad would kind of shake his head at or cheer you
No,
on?
no, nothing. No, Alice and I concentrate on we raise black and whites. That's about all we raise. We don't have too many red and white cattle. We concentrate. Allison likes the black and white color of cattle, and that's kind of what our traits are. We've got 4 cows right now that are solid black that are in the 80s, 80-inch tip to tip, and so that kind of puts us in a different air with what we've got as far as what we raise. But no, dad he agrees with what we do, so he doesn't say, hey, why don't you do this or do that. He's on board, so makes me proud. So
Are there any B&C animals left in your herd that you know of?
no.
Who is your favorite?
Well, I do have I do have a skull of one of the B&C conquest. We have his skull that we dad had a bull we bought off CJ Franz. I do have him hanging over the door of my garage. But we do have some. Then we had Rustler, our steer. We've got some skulls of our animals we had back in the day. But I don't know of any existing animals that are still alive today, because you're talking 40 some years ago, that some animals that were alive back then. So, but we still have heads and things like that of them.
Let's talk a little bit about your ranch and the land. So your ranch is in Brookfield. What makes that location and that community special?
It was my grandma's farm. She lived here in the 50s, and so my wife and I bought it 15 years ago. We've got 30 acres here on the edge of town, and it's been in the family for many years, and we had the opportunity to buy it, and so we built a house here, and that's where we raise our cattle now.
If you want to sell more animals in 2026, the most important thing you can build isn't a new pen or a new pasture, it's your own contact list.
Text It 24/7 helps breeders do exactly that. When people join your text list, you can reach them instantly with sale announcements, new consignments, calves for sale, ranch updates, anything you want them to see.
Texts get opened faster and more often than emails or social posts, which means your message actually reaches the people ready to buy.
Don't wait for buyers to find you. Build your list, communicate directly, and sell more livestock in 2026 with textit247.com. While we were preparing for today's episode, you had mentioned that you do rotational grazing for your herd. How do you manage your pastures, and what benefits have you seen from that?
Well, we're pretty fortunate. We have 3 different paddocks that we can rotate to. We use our own hay and manure to fertilize with, and I rotate seasonally. We've been pretty fortunate here in our area with the rain and things that we can rotate pretty. I put out a little bit of hay to just keep them fed. It was dry for a few weeks, but we've been pretty fortunate with grass. We're still pretty green here, so it's pretty fortunate for us to be able to do that.
What advice do you have for someone who's considering changing over to rotational grazing?
Just make sure you've got you use the right fertilizer, and you take care of your grass, and make sure you got the right grass in there for your cattle. I've fescue is going to take over anywhere you go, and that's a given. I don't bluegrass, blue stem around here is pretty popular. We stay away from the clover and things like that. So fescue hay around here is basically what we got in our pastures.
So I know you touched a little bit on, people maybe thinking your dad was crazy for getting longhorns and that sort of stuff. Have you noticed changes in either the land use or the community perception of longhorn ranching in Missouri over time?
Well, when dad got into cattle, people would drive by our place and see that our pastures and our trees and stuff were clear. Longhorn will eat anything. They'll eat the trees as high as they can reach. They will eat the cuckleburs. They'll eat the stuff that a lot of cattle won't eat because they don't have the teeth to do it. So they would they wouldn't really hire. They would ask Dad if they could use our cattle to clean their pastures. And of course, so that would give us, free grazing to use our cattle to winter on or to pasture on. And so we wouldn't have to hay or feed them as much as we normally would because people would want to clear off some pastures and things like that. So it would benefit both them and us, for their pastures, and it'd feed our cattle.
Do you think that longhorn ranching in Missouri is more widespread than it used to be? Do you know of a lot more breeders?
There's a few more younger breeders getting in the business. Yes. I wouldn't say a lot, but there are a few more younger breeders in the area. Yes. Local around our area. I'd say within a 7,500-mile radius around us. Yes.
Well, and with your sale that you hold, you probably notice, there's cycles, like you said, the old timers' sons and daughters are now the ones making the decisions. But you probably also notice that maybe folks are active for a while and then take some time off and then come back and build their herd back up. Kind of goes in phases like that as well, it seems.
Yeah, and some people, I've noticed some people, rent their pasture, and they have lost their rental pasture, and they're having to get out of the longhorn business, or they've taken new adventures on and they have to sell out. Mainly it's because they lose their pasture rent. They have no more pasture to keep them on, so they either sell down, and then they try to start over. But that's mainly the reason they get out is because they lose their pasture.
I feel like that's a widespread problem. That's not just
Yeah,
isolated to the
right,
Midwest.
right. Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your herd and breeding philosophy. How do you and Alyson, I know you mentioned black and whites and that sort of stuff, but how do you approach building your herd and what are you drawn to within it that you're aiming for?
Well, again, we focus mainly on black and whites. We're using certain bulls. We've got a foundation. We got a group of foundation cows that we started with a few years back that we have purchased and we've raised. From different breeders around here, and we've now have grown into using a bull that we have raised. We've taken a couple of our better cows and have bred to certain bulls in the area that we think are going to be up and coming bulls. So we're getting our foundation based around those bloodlines that we think will be the good black and white bloodlines in the industry.
Are you able to share some of the names of those bulls with
Sure,
us, or are you
absolutely.
keeping them secret?
We have a Stallone son that we're using. He's a solid black bull that we raised out of one of our good cows, and then we bred to Spoke Zest, Kim and Randy Jones's Spoke Zest bull. And then we bred she had us a heifer calf. Then we turned around and took her and bred her to Smoke, the Blue Streak bull that Donnie Volkart has, that we used it at our sale that we had here in last weekend. So we're using those two bulls right now as our bloodline to get in our herd.
So, what stands out about those herd sires, or what do you look for when you make those breeding decisions?
The color, their color and their horns, and what they're bred, what their background they're bred to. You've got saddle horn and you've got blue streak on both top and bottom on both the pedigrees on those two bulls. Blue Streak is a TCC cattle company herd sire that's done great things with them, and Saddle Horn, Saddle Jewel, what Saddle Jewel has done. So the bloodline is deep in those pedigrees, and that's what we're looking for. We've got other pedigrees, that we base on. You've got Jamaicism and things in our herd that we're using. We've got bow hunter daughters, so we in our opinion, we feel like we've got some pedigrees that are pretty good that people are using in the industry.
What about when you look at replacement heifers or adding females to your herd? What are you looking for in those traits and bloodlines?
We're keeping all of our heifers. Our matter of fact, we sold our good bull, our 50 caliber bull. He was a 50/50 son, and we're keeping all of his heifers, and that's the reason we got rid of him. So we'll keep all of our heifers, and we had 80% heifers this year, so we're going to have a pretty good return on our heifers this year. So we'll have, of course, all of them are black and white except one. She was red and white, and that's out of our best cow, which she got bred to a Stallone son. But we got probably 12 heifers, replacement heifers.
Tell me the top two that you're most excited to follow their growth, and this time next year, you
It
can
will be our Lazy J Bow Hunter heifer out of Spoke Zest, and it will be our little bull, we have a little bull calf out of our Geronimo heifer and Spoke Zest. And then I'm really looking forward to our Lazy J Bow Hunter bred to Smoke. So yeah, we got a lot we're really looking forward to. And then we bought, of course, we bought Heartthrob. I forgot about Heart. I don't know how I forgot about Heartthrob. We bought Heartthrob off of Joe Slotacek, and she has a nightshade heifer calf on the ground that we're really excited about. So we've got some pretty nice heifer calves coming up.
Is there an animal over the years that you sold that you kick yourself for, you wished you would have held on to or still had him or her today to influence your herd?
Yeah, yeah. I wish we still had a couple older cows back, but we got some great heifers out of them. So it's a gift and a curse. Dad always said, keep the factory, sell the prodigy. But, I did the opposite. I didn't listen to him on that. And I wished I would have, but, hindsight's 2020. And I think I did the right thing because I got some tremendous heifers out of her. So I think we're okay.
Well, let's talk a little bit about tools and traditions. These are some questions we went over as we were preparing for today. So, you said you couldn't live without your 4x4 tractor, your Ranger, and your Joe Chute. Which one sees the most use and why? Why is it your favorite?
My Ranger. My Ranger is because I use it. I check the cows daily with it, and we feed cubes of an evening with it, and the cows just know it. We've got a big steer that we got off of Kim and Randy Jones, and of course we call him Matt after their late son. And he he comes up, and whenever they see the Ranger, they just come running because they know they're going to get cubes. And I'd be lost without it. I mean, the cows, I can lead them from here to Kansas with it. If, they'd follow me everywhere with it. And I don't know what would do without it. It's a great tool.
What do you like about the other two?
Well, feeding in the winter, I'm inside a cab. I don't get cold when I feed my hay, you know. So they're both a big asset to my farm whenever I'm feeding and taking care of my animals.
And what about the Joe Chute? How has that changed things
Well,
for you?
the Joe Chute is just everybody needs a Joe Chute. In the Longhorn industry, everybody needs a chute like that because, you take a 80 80-inch cow. It's kind of hard to put her through a regular chute. You Joe Chute. It's just safe for the cows. It's a lot easier to work, and they know how to a cow can get through a hole the size they can work their head through, and they can get through a chute, but a Joe Chute is just so much safer to work an animal in, a Longhorn especially.
It's another one of those areas we've seen drastic improvement or changes in, don't you think? I mean, back in the day, you didn't have a choice what type of chute. You just had the standard one.
Right. And we had the powder river chutes when they first come out, and we made our alleyways, for Longhorns. Like I said, we had 42, 43-inch horn cows, and, we could make that work. But now you've got 100-inch cows, and it's just kind of hard to make that work in those kind of chutes. You just can't do it. It's just impossible. And now, it just works so much better, and it's easier and safer for the animals too, you know. So
Well, we asked you what your favorite season was, and you answered calving season. So, what makes that so meaningful to you?
just watching the little babies come around, and you see your older calves when they hit the ground and they play together, and then you see your younger calves and they kind of hang together and stay together, and it's just like your brothers and sisters. They're the same age and they play together, and it's just fun to go out there in the Ranger and just watch them play and carry on and watch them grow. It's just neat to watch that.
Well, when we were talking to you about traditions, you'd said that one tradition that you hope never goes away is doing it as a family. What does that
Yeah,
look like on your ranch today?
never stop. It'll always be that way. My granddaughter, she'll have Longhorns, and it'll always be that way.
It's awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about community and your legacy. So, how has your family's involvement with the Show Me sale and the Longhorn industry shaped your relationships with other breeders?
We do this sale for it's all family. We do it as a family. We don't really ask for help per se. It's me, my wife, my son, my buddies help. It's just it's a family event. We're here. We do this for the people. We do this for the breeders. It's not about the money. Yeah, it's nice to make money when you put on a sale. My wife and I said when we start losing money, we'll stop doing the sales, but we haven't yet, but it's for the breeders. It's for the people around here. We want to make it a place where people can come and have fun and enjoy it and, and make money with their animals as well and promote their animals, just like this year, we had a handful of new breeders come in here and they topped the sale with their animals. And they said they'll be back. So that makes us feel real good about that. So it's all about family and it's all about communication with the breeders. That's what we're here for. That's the bottom line. We want to do this sale for the breeders of the Longhorn Association. So that's what we're here for.
How many years now have you been having the futurity with your sale?
That's a Bill Sayre question. I can't remember.
So a long time.
I would say 30 plus. I think Dad, we started when we had the horse sale. I'd say 30 plus. I would say 35 years maybe with the futurity. And that's just the thing, we would love, well, I wouldn't say we'd love to have a futurity because it's just too much work and it's a lot of hassle, to put on a futurity and a sale because we have 200 to 300 animals at our sale where other people just have 70 to 80, and they have 400 futurity heifers. We just don't have the facility to do that. We're more considered a sale than we are a futurity, and we had 40 some animals in the futurity, and some of those animals topped the sale. A futurity heifer was one of the top selling animals in the sale. So our futurity, people are realizing, these young heifers are bringing good money, so they're selling their young heifers. So the futurity is a good thing for us because we sell the futurity heifers, and it lets those people promote their bloodlines at our sale. So it's a good futurity. It's fun.
And have you always had a spring sale and a fall sale, or has it kind of
We stopped about 4 years ago. We stopped having it because it became a dump sale, and it aggravated me, and I got upset about it because it was blown up on social media. Oh yeah, it was a dump sale. There, this and that, and I said nope, not going to have that. So we stopped it for a year or two, and then people said nope, we got to have it back. So then we started back. So we just stopped for about a year or two for the fall sale. We've always had a spring sale, always. Um, then, but yeah, I got a little upset about it, and we stopped for a little while. But then the people wanted again, so there again, we come back and did it for the people. So we started the fall sale back, and it's working. So
you don't just do Longhorn sales. What's the coolest thing you've ever sold as an auctioneer?
well, I've sold everything: exotic animals. I've sold giraffes, ostriches, chimpanzees, flying squirrels, monkeys. Um, I don't think there's anything I haven't sold. We do exotic sale we're making for years. Dad started it back in the day. I've sold white-tailed deer. I've traveled all over the United States selling stuff.
When you're running a ranch or taking care of animals, you need a feed store you can trust, one that knows the products, the lifestyle, and the community.
Struddy's Feed and Pet Supply is a family-owned business proudly supporting the Spring Branch and Boerne areas. Their knowledgeable staff is always ready to help you find exactly what you need.
From livestock, horse, and show feeds to pet supplies, wild bird feed, deer feeders, blinds, and lawn and garden essentials, Struddy's has you covered.
With 2 convenient locations and top-quality brands, they're your one-stop shop for everything from cattle and horses to dogs, chickens, and wildlife.
Visit Struddys.com to explore their products or stop by their Boerne or Spring Branch stores. What advice would you give specifically to a Longhorn breeder who's considering consigning to a sale for the first time?
Consigning? Pick out your best animal. Sell your best animal.
What about buying?
Talk to somebody that knows what they're doing. Get advice before you start buying an animal.
What is your biggest pet peeve from people in the audience while you're trying to sell a cow?
Trying to cut me down on the bids. Don't cut me down on a, and but I do it to Dan too. When I'm trying to buy a cow, it's when you're selling a $20,000 or $30,000 cow, you don't want somebody to to knock you down to $100 or $50, but it's all in fun and games, but that's my biggest pet peeve, but you got to do it. You try to get the most money for the animal, and you try to help the seller and the buyer get a better deal. So
You ever had a cow join you in the auction block?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we have. Up at Kirksville. She jumped right in the auction block. She didn't get in with us, but she got close.
Well, let's talk a
Yeah.
little bit about our relationship. How did you first get connected with us at Hired Hand?
I've known you forever.
We're old, right?
Yeah, right. I've known you and your family for before everybody knew you. Hired hand, dad, dad, dad never believed in change. He didn't do the new things. He just lived by the old timers and the old ways. And my wife and I, people said, "Hey, you got to get on this. You got to do this. You got to spend money to make money." And so we decided that we got to do something. We got to catch up to times. And so I think we've been with you guys for I don't know 5 or 6 years. I believe I'm not 100% sure. We've even used you a couple times on machinery sales. So I think it's been 5 or 6 years.
Well, it took you a little long to get a website with us. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but you're one of those
No, it
folks
did.
that I wasn't going to hound. I just knew you
No,
were doing your thing. But now that
no.
you have a website for your ranch with us, what have you seen as some of the benefits?
Oh, it's helped us tremendously. Since we went out and I got a little carried away at an auction and bought a expensive cow and it kind of, it's kind of put us on the map out there, with what we're doing with what I heard and stuff. I kind of wanted to be that silent type of guy that, hey, you come to me, I don't want to go to you. And, it's helped our business, our herd, our industry. It's actually helped our sale, so it's something, we needed to do. I was kind of like dad in a sense. Why do I want to spend money on something that I don't know if it's going to help me or not, and it has, and it is. So it's helped my auction business tremendously. It's helped our animals. So yeah, it's something we needed to do.
If another breeder asked you why they should invest in a hired hand website, what would you tell them?
It's very important to do for your herd, for your name, for your animals. If you want anybody to know who you are, you've got to have a website. Period. 'Cause it's all about social media in today's world. That's just it. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, it's social media, and you guys are the best at what you do. I mean, that's just all I can say. I'm not saying it because I know you and you're good at what you do, and you are good at what you do. But it's something everybody has to have. If you want to be in the Longhorn business and buy and sell and promote your animals, you got to have a website.
Well, we always love hearing how folks are using their hired hand websites and hired hand live to market their cattle. So thank you for sharing your insights and to our listeners. We really appreciate that. But since you're an auctioneer by trade, I thought we'd do something a little different and have some fun with it. So let's imagine you're at a sale barn, microphone in hand, but instead of selling cattle, you're selling a website or our software. Can I put you on the spot and hear your pitch?
I'm selling what? Your
Yeah.
software?
Sell a website to all the listeners here. Let's hear your auctioneer skills.
Oh, you want me to auction something? Your website?
Yeah.
Listen to you. I got a sale Saturday. I'm barely talk now. Everybody's heard me auction, Molly.
Oh, just a little bit. Come on.
25, 30, 35, high, 35 to 40, 45, high, 45. Now, this is something everybody needs in their business. If you don't have this website, you're not going to sell your product. You got to have this to promote your product because it's gonna help. And if it doesn't help, I'll guarantee your money back. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 90, 100, 110, 20, 20, 30, 130, 140, 50, 51, 60, 70, 70, 80. Sold.
Love it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, let's have a little bit more fun here. So, again, we had you fill out a questionnaire before today's podcast, and we asked you your dream ranch destination. You mentioned it would be Yellowstone. What would you hope to experience there?
I just like to see it. I'd love to go there and see it. I watched the show. I watch reruns. It's just a neat place. I'd love to go see it. The country's beautiful. It would just be a neat place to go visit and see, you know. I think it'd be a better place with Longhorn cattle on it instead of Angus cattle, but
I
that's
agree.
just me. That's just me. It'd be a prettier, because you see the green grass, you just see black cattle and black cattle. The Longhorns, in my opinion, when you drive by a field and you see different colors out there than just, because you got Hereford Charlet and things. Well, you see Longhorns, you've got all the colors in the field instead of just red, black, gray, and white. And, it's, all the colors are in a Longhorn. They're there in one animal, and that's the neat thing about a Longhorn cow is you're going to have multiple colors in a Longhorn, to where in Hereford you're going to have red, in Charlotte you're going to have white, in Angus you're going to have black, and Longhorn you're going to have all three of those colors in one cow.
And we already know if they can make it through winter in Missouri and Iowa and Oregon and everywhere else, they'd be just fine up there.
Yeah, and I bought a cow. At the sale, come from Mississippi, and she's 17 or 18 years old. And I hope she makes it through Missouri winter, because she's got a baby calf in her. So I hope she makes it through the winter here. If she can make it here, she's going to be a tough old gal. Yeah.
Well, we also asked you if you could invite one Western icon to dinner, who would you choose? And you chose John Wayne.
Yep.
What's the first question you would ask him?
The Duke. I don't know what I'd ask him. I'd just being off. He was in front of me. He's just a cool man. I mean, he's just somebody I grew up watching as a kid. I've seen every one of his movies. He's a cool dude.
What do you think he'd order for dinner? Full disclosure, I did Google it and have the correct answer. So,
He'd probably order ribeye steak.
with what side?
Probably a baked potato.
You nailed it. You got it.
Yeah, with horseradish on the side. Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he's just a cool dude.
Well, because you like him so much, I came up with one more game we're going to play today. So this one's called True Grit or Just Grit. So I'm going to read you a series of statements about John Wayne. Some of them are 100% true, and some of them are completely made up. You have to say if the statement is true grit or just grit. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. John Wayne's real name was Marion Morrison.
True grit.
Yep, he was born Marion Robert Morrison in 1907.
Mm-hmm.
He was nicknamed Duke after his childhood dog.
True grit.
Yep, right again. So the dog's name was Duke, and it was his neighbors that started calling him Little Duke. Question number 3. John Wayne won 3 Academy Awards during his career.
True grit.
Ooh, this one's just grit. It says that he won for True Grit in 1969. He starred in more than 150 movies.
Just grit.
Oh, it's true. He appeared in over 170 across 5 decades. All right, we're halfway through. I think you're still winning. I think you have 3 right to 2 wrong. So, question number 5. Wayne once turned down the role of Superman because he didn't like wearing tights.
True grit.
Just grit.
Dang.
Says he was never offered Superman.
I thought he was. But he would have turned it down because he wouldn't have wore tights.
He was a college football player at USC before getting into acting.
True grit.
Yep, it says he played until an injury ended his career. John Wayne's handprints, footprints, and fist prints are all in front of Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
True grit.
Yep, it says that it happened in 1950. Question number 8. He owned a ranch in Arizona called the 26 Bar Ranch.
True grit.
Yep. His final film was called The Cowboys in 1972.
True grit.
Just grit. It says his last film was The Shootist in 1976. Have you seen both of those?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that last one or not. I probably have.
All right, last question. John Wayne once said, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway."
True grit.
Correct. Says it's one of his most famous quotes. I think you tied. If I was keeping track correctly, I think you were half right on that.
I won. I won.
All right, we'll call it a win.
Yeah.
Well, before we sign off today, is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about you or John Wayne or anything else?
No, just thank you guys for what you do. I mean, it is you have helped the industry a lot. I mean, it's just I can't put it into words and what you guys have done. You guys have done a super job with the industry and helped out a bunch. I noticed the stats that you guys put out and the hard work that you guys do for not only coming to the sales, but what you do in the back rooms as far as putting the numbers together and everything for people to see that a lot of people wouldn't even know with the Longhorn industry. And I just want to hats off to you guys for what you do.
Well, thank you very much. That means a lot.
I've known you and your family a long time, and we should have got on board a lot sooner. But it's just one of those things that we're like I said, we're family owned and ran, and we don't ask for much help, and we just thought we could do it, and comes to find out we couldn't do it without help, and we're dearly appreciative of what you guys have done for us.
Well, same. It's
Yep.
fun to finally have you on board.
Yep. Well, we're glad to be on board. Yep.
Shawn, thank you for joining us and sharing the story of S&A Longhorns. From your father's pioneering role in starting the B&C Show Me sale to the way you're carrying the torch with the family at the heart of your ranch, it's clear that tradition and progress go hand in hand in Brookfield, Missouri. For our listeners, you can learn more about S&A Longhorns through their hired hand-powered website and keep up with their story online.
Thanks for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and learned something new about ranching and the people behind the pedigrees.
Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow along for more stories and insights from across the livestock community.
This episode was brought to you by Hired Hand Software and Hired Hand Live, powering breeders online for over 15 years.
Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them special.